Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dig into an article from the Wall Street Journal by Don Nico Forbes. It's called UK Posts Modest Growth for 2025. And, well, it really tells the story of an economy that's trying to get back on its feet, but just can't seem to get going.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the big picture. Then we'll decode some of the numbers and terms you need to know. After that, we'll explore what's really holding the economy back. And finally, we'll peek into the future and see what might be coming next.
All right, so let's start with the main headline here. What's the key symptom in this whole economic checkup? Well, believe it or not, it all boils down to one tiny number.
0.1%. I mean, that's it. That was the UK's economic growth in the last few months of 2025. The economy was barely moving at all. We're talking practically at a standstill. You might be thinking, so what? But that tiny number, it's a huge clue. It tells us so much about the financial health of millions of people and thousands of businesses. Basically, it's a giant sign that says, stuck. And if we zoom out and look at the whole year, the economy grew by just 1.3%. Now, yeah, that's a little bit better than the year before, but it still paints this picture of a really fragile economy that's just, struggling to build up any real speed.
Okay, so to really get what's going on behind these numbers, we need to make sure we're all speaking the same language. Let's quickly go over a few key terms that you'll hear all the time.
First up, you'll hear GDP a lot. That stands for Gross Domestic Product. The easiest way to think about it is like a country's annual report card. If GDP is going up, it usually means the economy is growing and things are looking pretty healthy.
Next is inflation. You've definitely felt this one. It's just the rate at which prices are going up. So when inflation is high, that's why your grocery bill suddenly feels way more expensive. It basically just eats away at the value of your money.
And finally, there's the Bank of England, or the BOE. Think of them as the economy's thermostat. Their main job is to keep things from getting too hot with inflation or too cold with a shrinking economy. And their biggest tool for doing that is by changing interest rates.
All right, now that we've got the lingo down, let's play detective. Why is the UK's economic growth so slow?
It's not just one thing. It's more like a perfect storm of headwinds. You've got consumers being really cautious about spending. And why wouldn't they be? Borrowing costs are high, so things like mortgages cost more. Inflation has bounced back, meaning paychecks just don't go as far. On top of that, you've got higher U.S. tariffs making exports tougher, and more people are worried about losing their jobs. It all adds up to people and businesses just holding on to their cash.
And look, this isn't just a theory. The Bank of England itself put out a report saying that the businesses on the front lines, the ones actually talking to customers every day, were feeling this pessimism directly.
But here's where it gets really interesting. This slowdown isn't hitting every part of the economy in the same way. It's actually really unbalanced. Some areas are doing okay, while others are really struggling.
And this chart shows you exactly what I mean. Look at that. Industrial production was actually up by 1.2%. But then you have the services sector, which is a massive part of the UK economy, completely flat, zero growth. And construction? It actually went backward, shrinking by more than 2%. Talk about a mixed bag.
So with this fragile, kind of lopsided picture of the economy, the huge question is, what's next? What does 2026 look like?
I mean, this is the billion-pound question, right? For everyone, from the government to big companies to every family trying to budget. Is the economy finally going to get some momentum, or are we just in for more of the same?
What's wild is that even the experts can't seem to agree. You've got the Bank of England on the more pessimistic side, predicting growth of just under 1%. But then you have another respected group, the NIESR, feeling more optimistic, thinking it could be closer to 1.4%.
So, there are a few key moments we should all be watching this year that'll give us clues. In April, a big one. Inflation is supposed to finally hit that 2% target. Then there's a national election in May, which always creates uncertainty. And then we could see the Bank of England cut interest rates in July, and maybe even again in November, which would be a huge deal for a lot of people.
The more hopeful view is summed up really well by David Eichmann from that more optimistic group. He says the UK economy is starting to look closer to normal than it has in years. The idea is that after all the chaos of the last decade, things might finally be settling down.
But, and there's always a but, a full recovery is definitely not in the bag. A big worry is the job market. Unemployment is ticking up, and it's expected to hit over 5%. That means more financial pressure on families, which is never a good sign for the economy. So if you only remember 3 things from all of this, make it these. 1, the UK economy is basically flatlining, which shows it's pretty fragile right now. 2, the reason why is that high prices and high borrowing costs are squeezing everyone's wallets, so people aren't spending. And 3, what happens next really all comes down to inflation. If it falls, the Bank of England might cut interest rates, which could give the economy the jolt it needs. And that leaves us right here, at a crossroads. Things might be heading back to normal, but there are still some major roadblocks ahead. The big question is, will the UK find a way to a real, strong recovery, or is it just stuck spinning its wheels in this cycle of stagnation? Only time will tell.